what do you have to say to anxiety? Like, if it's a person, what do you have to say to it?
Oh, if anxiety is a person, I'm
Yeah.
looking at it. Jẹ́ kó rí ẹ pé jẹ́ kó rí ẹ pé o. Ṣo fẹ́ pa mí ni? Ṣo fẹ́ pa mí ni? O fẹ́.
Hey guys, you're welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Nida. Hope you're good. I hope all is well. For those of you seeing my face for the first time, my name is Lily Diamond and I post content on lifestyle relationship. I also post educative and fun vlogs. Make sure you go to my playlist and binge watch. And make sure you subscribe and put on notification on my videos. So today I have Toby Daniels here with me and we'll be talking about anxiety, our experience with anxiety and how you can ease your anxiety. So people talk about having anxiety, I have anxiety, I have anxiety. But sometimes when I think about it, I'm confused. Like, what is the meaning of anxiety and what causes anxiety?
Well, I'm not a medical expert, so I can't really say there's a particular definition of anxiety. But I do know that anxiety is when you're worried. I think that's like the biblical context of anxiety when you're worried about something. But beyond that, anxiety is when you have this uneasiness. It's almost like you're restless about things or situations. But here is the tricky part. Sometimes to have anxiety, pardon me, sometimes to have anxiety, you don't necessarily have to have something on your conscious mind. You could have thought about something or there's something in your life going on. So you subconsciously begin to be anxious. So it happens that way. Anxiety is deep, basically.
Actually.
I just spoke like an expert. But
So what's your experience with anxiety?
anxiety is shock. It's shock. Anxiety is, I think the first time I knew what anxiety was, or let me say the first time I named it for what it was, I was 22, trying to hold on to a job, trying to make a relationship work, trying to figure out life and all that. It was tough. Anxiety was, I literally thought that I was depressed because you just wake up in the morning, you just be scared.
Actually.
You just wake up scared in the morning. You want to go to bed at night, you're sleepy, but you can't get sleep because you're anxious. So anxiety, like I said earlier, it's almost like you're worried about something. At the same time, you're not worried about anything. Life is just uneasy, you're restless and stuff like that.
I think my experience with anxiety is quite funny because it was a little bit hard for me to decide that okay, I'm experiencing anxiety
Mm-hmm.
because I feel that sometimes it starts from maybe getting phone calls and I'm scared that okay, why is this person calling me?
Mm-hmm.
So I have phone calls anxiety. But again, I feel like every single thing. There was one particular time a friend had to tell me that it seems you have anxiety, and that was when I had exam in school. That was my 400 level, like final exams. But it
Okay.
has been happening before then. So I read for the exam and I did it well. But after the exam, while some people were celebrating that we are finally done with exam,
Yeah.
I was asking people that please, what did you write for number one? I want to be sure I wrote the correct thing. What did you write for number two? I want to be sure. So that was when I got to know that okay, I have anxiety.
Talking about phone calls, I might have that too. If there's a great chance of you communicating with me via text, it's much easier for me. I don't have to see your face. I don't have to hear your voice. Just text me. You'll get a response in almost no time. But if you call me, if you're not my mother, you're not my siblings, you're not my girlfriend, or you're not my pastor, forget it.
I feel the test is much crazier because that's worse than my
Mm-hmm.
phone call anxiety and all. Because when I get message, people be like, okay, I forget that I got message.
Mm.
And then sometimes I know the person message, but I don't know what is going to come next after hello, how was your day? So I'm scared to reply it.
I know that kind of stuff. There are many sides to anxiety. There is a part of you trying to shy away from, situations like that, maybe calls or having a conversation with someone. And there's also the extreme part of trying to have a conversation with someone because you want to get it over with. So, for instance, say you have to make a call by, let's say you need to make a call that is quite important for something. Maybe you want to make a reservation or something, and you know the best time to talk to this person is probably in the morning. But because you are anxious, you want to make that call that night and get it over with. And it also spills into maybe you're doing a project and maybe some people are dragging or you want to do everything by yourself. I'm guilty of that sometimes. If I'm involved in a project, I want to carry other people's burdens. You know, it's a bad thing, but that happens.
I feel anxiety is just crazy because it's blood sucking. Because most times I've not even started doing that particular stuff, but I'm
Hmm.
already scared of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it also burns down to making friends or building relationship. I'm just making this friend, but I want to know what happens. Maybe this friend is going to like, you know, or maybe I'm just meeting this person and maybe the person is showing me love, interest, and all.
Mm.
But inside my mind, I'm already thinking now about how the relationship is going to get jeopardized, and I feel it's very, very bad, very, very
Trauma
bad.
causes anxiety, or let me say, trauma leads to anxiety too. If you've been traumatized by something that happened in your life, maybe in the past, or maybe somebody broke your heart, or you had a certain experience, if anything that looks like that, or anything that reminds you of such situations come alive again, it is very easy to be anxious in those moments. So anxiety is very bad. That's what I know for sure. But I learned something from there's this YouTube channel, How Married Are You? Um, you should
How
check it.
married are you?
How Married Are You? Really good. Glenn and Yvette, those guys, I love them. Interestingly, my ex-girlfriend introduced me to the channel. She might be watching this. Anyways, Glenn used to say something. Glenn is a guy. Both of them are they're a couple, they're married. Glenn used to say that if you can't control it, don't worry about it. And that has become my mantra for a while now. If I'm going through a situation and I realize that I'm beginning to be anxious, I take a back seat and I say, okay, what can I do about this? If I see all avenues that okay, there is little to nothing I can do about it, I let it go. I don't want to disturb myself.
But if there's something you can do about it, you have to do
I
something about
try.
it.
Yeah, I try. That is not to say that I don't get worried when I realize that there's nothing I can do about it, but it helps me to be at peace to a certain degree where I realize even if I try, there's only so much I can do. Especially when it has to do with other people, when other
Yeah.
people's decisions are involved, you can't control that. For example, let's say somebody has to decide maybe to sign something for you or give you something or do something for you. You cannot decide that person's feelings at that moment. You can't decide what the person will decide to do. So situations like that, you can only hope for the best and then move
Actually.
forward.
So you
Yep.
mentioned something. You mentioned something earlier. You said anxiety can look like depression sometimes,
Hmm.
and from how you said it, you're saying it as if it's different, and maybe people confuse it with each other. So how does it relate, and how is it different?
Anxiety and depression are like brothers and sisters. Both of them are related. Interestingly, you could be anxious without you being depressed, but it is almost impossible for you to be depressed without being anxious. So they work together, but they're not exactly mutually exclusive. So they're not like they're not always together. So there's a chance that you are if there's a chance that you are anxious but you're not depressed. But you are depressed, so you must be anxious in this life. You must be anxious.
So what are the things you know that we can do to curb anxiety?
Go to the mountain, pray to God Almighty. I would say that believe in God. I think one thing that's really helped my anxiety, or let me say that is helping my anxiety, is my relationship with God. Aside from that, I don't think I can handle anxiety. There are some days that I just wake up in the morning, I'm like, okay, not today. I'm not doing today. Do you get? I'm not doing today. I'll just go back to bed. I'll sleep it out. And other days I'm like, where's every let's do this world. Let's conquer everywhere. Let's do things. But aside from my relationship with God, I try to I'm trying to make friends. I'm terrible at making friends. I don't have a lot of them. I try to make friends these days because I've come to realize that relationships are one of the ways that we enjoy the grace of God.
Hmm.
There is this book I read, it's called Habits of Grace. I recommend. It's by I'm trying to remember the name. Team something or Kim. I
But if
don't
they
I don't
double
remember.
search it, it's going to
I
come
might
up.
send it to her. She could give you the link to
Alright.
download it or something. It's called Habits of Grace. In that book, it talks about enjoying the grace of God through prayer, through reading the Bible, through relationship or a community of people. So that was where I learned that. You need people around you to keep you in check, because sometimes it is easier for us to live in our minds, to stay stuck in our minds, to live isolated. And when you're isolated, it's easier for you to think the world revolves around you and all there is around you is all there is in life. But when you begin to see from other people's perspectives and share other people's experiences with them, you realize that this world is actually bigger than, it's bigger than your space. And then you become less anxious in some cases. Yep.
Are those the steps the only
Yeah, I would
steps?
say relationship with God. I would say have a good community around you, have friends. Try to get involved in exercises or activities that help your mind. So read, right? Read, write. For me, I'm into poetry, so I put out my heart on pen a lot, on paper, on pen. What kind of English is that? But I write a lot. Um, I take long walks sometimes. If you have the luxury to do that, it's great. Take cold showers. It calms your nerves, right? Talk to people, have fun. Sometimes just give yourself a treat. Go to one amala joint, have one hot amala. Take ice cream, like I did today. She bought me ice cream today. So beautiful things like that. Make experiences for yourself. It helps to calm your mind, basically. It is good to remember this, that when your mind is in isolation, it is easy for you to be anxious or depressed.
So
Yep.
you have to get something doing always.
Yep.
And I have a question.
Okay.
From what I saw online,
Mhm.
anxiety looks like a medical condition.
Well, we could categorize it as it could be a medical condition because it has to do with humans. It has to do with the mind. It has to do with the health. There's an arm of medicine called psychology. Is it an arm of medicine? I don't know if it's an arm of medicine, but there is psychology which has to do with the mind. So anything that has to do with the health of the mind, so it's health wise also. So it could be it could be diagnosed. Something's wrong with
Okay.
you. But oftentimes, anxiety can be dealt away with by just practical steps, like I mentioned. But sometimes, for some people who are not exactly religiously inclined,
Yeah.
they get to be prescribed drugs and antidepressants and stuff like that. But the interesting thing is, when you stay too long on those kind of drugs, they make you dependent on those drugs. So when you get off those drugs, you might have withdrawal symptoms, or it might come up with another sort of problem for you or something like that. So follow God, follow Uno Road.
So anxiety has no age limit.
Yep.
Then for there's this particular condition that I really want to know if it's anxiety or something else.
Yeah.
Like before you sleep at night and
Mm-hmm.
you're just counting the ceilings,
Mm-hmm.
you start thinking about what cannot happen or what has happened
Yeah.
and maybe what you want to happen.
Yeah.
Is that related to anxiety in any way?
It could be, but I think that a lot of adults actually experience that. Adulting 101. There's something called overthinkathon. Yeah.
Actually.
Like cookathon. Okay, I'm being silly. But yeah, you get to overthink as you grow older. You get to overthink, especially when you've had a lot of experiences. You get to overthink the things that have happened, the things that could happen, the things that will happen. And if you think too much, anxiety will just come out.
Choke.
I think
And
I just messed up
choking.
the mic. Anyways, yeah. So I have a question for you, right? So aside from exams that you said, you felt you were anxious about,
Yeah.
have you ever been in a situation that gave you so much anxiety?
Yes.
Like,
Like someone sending a message to me that we need to talk. Like
voila,
what
voila, voila, voila.
like what do we need to talk about that you can't tell me immediately you tell me that we need to talk. We need to talk, but it's not today.
I think that particular line, is one of the most anxiety-inducing statements in
Like
the world. We need to talk.
why
No,
can't you just tell me we
don't
need
do
to
that.
talk when we actually need to talk? Not when you're planning to tell me 2 weeks from when you told me we need to talk. It's not good.
You
It's
just
not
begin
good
to think
enough.
about all the things that could go wrong, or all the things that are wrong in the world. Like, what have you done? What are we going to talk about? Am I at fault? You don't even know what it is already. So yeah,
I feel
interesting.
another situation that gives me anxiety is maybe when I apply for different stuff, maybe jobs or opportunities. It
Yeah.
gives me anxiety because even after I apply and follow all due steps,
Mm-hmm.
I just feel okay. Are they going to accept me?
Did you
Like,
give your
did I
best?
give
All
my
those
best
things. Yeah.
and all those stuff? But it got to a point that there was this last application I did, and I did like 3 stages of interviews, and at a point I was just like, I've tried my best. So it's dependent on these
Mm,
people. Like, there are some choices that they are not left to you, they are left to other people.
exactly.
So you just have to leave
Exactly.
them to it to make it. So at that point, I was just like, even if these people don't pick me, I gave, like, I was giving, let me use that slang. I gave everything that needs to be given. So I feel that situation to gives me anxiety. Another situation that gives me anxiety is when I see any call from home. Like, it's not as if it's something serious. I'm always like, okay, what happened? Why is this person calling me, and why can't they send message? And
Hmm.
I think we have issues because of that. Yeah.
So she doesn't call. She doesn't know how to keep in touch. I, as a good brother, will be the one to do that most times. And when I reach out to her, she's like, I'm going through stuff. What are you going through? What are you going through in life? But I actually understand that. But I've also learned that um, dealing with anxiety, you have to be positive minded.
Yeah.
If you're not positive minded, your mind will steer towards the negative, and then it will breed a lot of worry and stuff like that. And you don't want to be in that space for so long. But when you look for the positive side of life, it is much easier to deal with anxiety that way.
It's funny how, like, one of the activities that helps me ease my anxiety is watching TikToks. Watching TikTok videos.
Guilty,
And
guilty.
another funny thing about those TikTok videos is that they know what you are going through. I don't know how. Like, you are going through something, though it will just pop up
I have a
on your
theory.
timeline.
They probably spy on us.
I
They
guess
probably
so.
spy on
Like,
us.
why? If you're thinking about something, well, sometimes when you go on TikTok and you're trying to avoid some situations,
Mm,
it's going to just flow.
yeah,
But sometimes they're just going to bring that in and shove it to your face that, okay,
yeah.
this is what you're going through. And but TikTok is addictive. We all know
It
that.
is addictive.
We all know that.
How
So
many hours do you spend on TikTok a day?
I can't count because maybe maybe I'm working. I give myself like 2 hours to work or something, or 30 minutes to work. I go on TikTok for like 10 minutes for the break, like, to compensate to compensate myself. It's like a reward.
I think for me, I spend most of I've become better these days. I do not go on TikTok as much as I used to. I go on TikToks late at night before I sleep.
Hmm.
It's fun for me and educative because I get to learn about certain things on TikTok and all that. But yep, I should say that I have this 10 episode series on my YouTube. It's called Sound Mind Season 1. Anxiety, I had a topic on anxiety, and it's the first video. So you should check it out. She's probably going to put the link to the
Yes.
playlist on this video somewhere. And then you can watch it and let me know what you think about it.
What word do you have for anxiety right now? What do you have to say to anxiety? Like, if it's a person, what do you have to say to it?
Oh, if anxiety is a person, I'm
Yeah.
looking at it. Jẹ́ kó rí ẹ pé jẹ́ kó rí ẹ pé o ṣó fẹ́ pa mí ni ṣó fẹ́ pa mí ni o fẹ́ gbẹ̀mí lẹ́mìí ni. Lawa, be careful. Oh. Ah,
But actually, anxiety is a
honestly,
bastard.
anxiety is a bastard. Oh.
It's a bastard.
Màá kọ́ kù níṣẹ́ náà pé àbó fẹ́ anxiety. Or in other words, I beg. Anxiety.
Actually,
I
please.
beg.
I beg.
I beg.
So, guys, try to ease your anxiety by following the steps. Like, get close to God, go for a walk, do things that will
Talk
take
to
your mind
people.
off it, and do things that won't isolate your mind
Yeah.
or isolate you yourself.
Mhm.
So